Oftentimes on the show, Michael, we do a segment called Different Game or More of the Same. And I feel like this one is going to have a similar vibe because we have a ton of divisional rematches coming up this week. And I'm curious your thoughts if history is going to repeat itself or if we're going to have a change of events here. And no better place to start than a critical Thursday night football game in the AFC North with the Ravens hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, two teams that are coming off of tough losses, Michael. But in round one, week 2, the Ravens beat Cincinnati 27-24. But Cincinnati's a little bit of a different team now, though, with Joe Burrow. So what do you think?
Well, they are a different team with Joe Burrow. He's playing at a high level right now. But he doesn't have T. Higgins. He won't dress for the game. And Baltimore has a ton of injuries on. Is Marlon Humphreys going to play? Is Ronnie Stanley, the left tackle, going to play? Look, anytime you get this kind of game, it's always a 3-point game one way or the other. You know, I'm glad it's Thursday so you don't have to think about it. You can give out okay, I kind of like it here, but you don't have to make a play for it. I think it's be more of the same. I really do. This is always the case. And look, Cincinnati, they have no margin for error. I mean, that 7th seed right now is up for grabs. And you got Buffalo, they're at the 10th seed right now trying to fight their way into the race. And the same thing with Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati losing to Houston at home could cost them the 7th seed overall. I think more of the same. I think it goes down to the final seconds and a field goal.
Well, and Michael, it's perfect that you say you think it's going to be a field goal game because odds makers must have had that in their mind as well with the spread sitting there, Ravens favored by 3.5, the total 46. And if you do think the Ravens come out on top once again, it's interesting looking at some of the numbers for Lamar Jackson against this Cincinnati team in his career. 7-1 against the Bengals, Michael, 12 passing touchdowns. He averages 75 rushing yards per game as well. And he's had really, really strong showings against Cincinnati.
And Cincy on defense the last 3 weeks have not been good. Now, Buffalo didn't move the ball on them, but, Buffalo doesn't force them to – with Buffalo, they run it just to kind of keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands for a little while. I mean, last night they could have put Cook in the game more. I know he fumbled and missed the first quarter, but, I mean, he was running with some real velocity, and they just got away from it. James Cook, they got away from it. They didn't really feel it. Baltimore will. When Baltimore can run the ball, they couldn't last week. They had the 39-yard Williams run for a touchdown, but other than that, they couldn't. When they run, they're a problem. And since he's run defense, over 5 yards a carry, Stormy.
Yeah, yes. We'll keep it in the AFC North for this next one. The team that just beat the Ravens, Michael, the Cleveland Browns, are facing off with the Pittsburgh Steelers here. This is a Steelers team who, despite being outgained in every single game this season, Michael, is 6-3 on the year. And they got the better of Cleveland in round one, 26-22.
I don't think this is going to be more of the same. I think the Browns are going to be angry. And I think the Browns can't believe they lost that game. I mean, they give up the 71-yard pass. Watson turns the ball. There's 14 points given to him right there, And so if they eliminate those one big play and then the one turnover, this Browns team can really control the game defensively. Because here's what we know about the Steelers. When they can't run the ball effectively and you put the ball in Pickett's hands, it's a problem. It's going to be a problem. They won't protect well enough. Garrett will create some issues. Look, I love everything about this, and everybody's going to jump all over Mike Tomlin as a dog, and we saw that when the Jacksonville Jaguars came into Pittsburgh and won 20-10. I mean, it's hard for them, Pittsburgh, to go against a good front. I don't think it'll be more of the same. I think the Browns, assuming Watson's healthy and he plays just like he did last week, nothing more, nothing less, I think they win.
If he can play any semblance of the way that he did in the second half moving forward this season, the Browns could be a contender in the AFC. They could, I view them as a completely different team if Deshaun Watson is playing like vintage Deshaun Watson, because we know he still has the top overall defense backing him up on the other side. For Pittsburgh, Michael, I was really disappointed last week watching them make the Packers offense look good. Jordan Love, we've seen time and time again, is not a great quarterback in the National Football League right now, and they made him look good.
Yeah, they did. And look, and they had a chance to win the game at the end if Love could make a couple more throws. I mean, Love's under 57% completion percentage. What's going to happen when they get a quarterback who can throw the ball accurately against them? Look, credit Pittsburgh. They are resilient. They fight you tooth and nail, but they couldn't move the ball on Jacksonville. Why? Because Jacksonville limited their run game. Cleveland will make it very challenging for them to run the ball. It's hard to beat teams twice in the same year. It really is, especially a team as good defensively as the Cleveland Browns are.
Okay, we know that the Buffalo Bills be struggling, especially after what we witnessed last night. They are laying nearly a touchdown against the Jets in the rematch, who, by the way, New York, we remember, won this game week 1 when Aaron Rodgers went out. Zach Wilson ended up closing this thing out in overtime, 22-16, a Jets win to begin the season. Josh Allen had 3 interceptions that game and a lost fumble coming off the turnover fest yesterday. Different game or more of the same in the rematch?
You know, I think it's going to be more of the same. And I think the reason I do think this is because the Jets' defensive front, it sets up perfectly for them. If Buffalo wanted to run the ball and be a little bit more multiple in their play calling, I would say it's going to be a problem. Because if they can get to 14, how do the Jets score 14? But Buffalo has a hard time playing run defense. So the Jets should be able to run the ball. And then we know this. The Buffalo, if they go against a good pass rush like the Jets, this offensive line kind of gets away with it because of Allen's. You can't get him on the ground. You know, I mean, I'm surprised the line is opened at 7. It's down to 6.5. I think if you like the Jets, you better take the 6.5 now. I think it's going to trend to down to 7. Now, we have it at 7, but there's a lot of 6.5s out there as well.
Yeah, we'll see if that is the way that this thing continues to go. The Jets, by the way, the number 3 pass defense in the NFL right now, and a number of takeaways that they have been able to secure. 15 this year, 9 of them interceptions. How about in the NFC West? We mentioned this game a little bit earlier with Matt Stafford and his thumb injury that he's expected to be back against Seattle. But when they played earlier this season, another week 1 matchup, the Rams were able to get it done 30-13 when they were healthy. They're the healthiest they've been since this game earlier. You think different game or more of the same?
I think more of the same. I don't think the Rams are going to dominate 30-13. I like the Rams in the opening of this game. People thought I was crazy, but that's the healthiest the Rams were going to be, and Stafford's really good when he is healthy. But for me, you know, I think that the Seattle team has their offensive lines better right now, and I think that they can move the football on the Rams. The Rams are good, but I do think Seattle can move the ball on them. Because the Rams are healthy. Once the Rams start to get into the game, then it becomes a problem. And they could put some pressure on Stafford. I think that's going to be the key. But I think this is a close game. And I don't think it's going to be decided until late in the fourth quarter.
Remember, that was the first time we saw Puka Nacua, and he had over 100 yards, and everybody was like, oh, it's probably just a fluke, you know, giving the rookie an opportunity. Clearly, it was not. One more we can hit right here. The Giants in Washington taking on the Commanders, and we all just witnessed the Tommy DeVito show and what happened against the Dallas Cowboys this past weekend. In round 1, New York actually got the better of the Commanders, 14-7. What do you think in the rematch?
Well, the first game was Tyrod Taylor, so it's not going to be more of the same. You got Tommy DeVito. You got Tommy DeVito coming to down. I mean, it ain't going to be more of the same. And I got to think that their team is kind of really, at the end of the day, I think the Giants are a wounded team. I think, to me, it's hard for them to believe that they have a chance to win without the quarterback. It's the same thing the Jets go through. Like, they don't trust the quarterback to make enough plays. How many points, even as bad as Washington is, how many points do you think DeVito can lead them on? Even if they run Barkley, 10, 13? I mean,
yeah,
can the Giants defense hold anybody to under 20? You can't trust it. I mean, everybody would be – I mean, how are the Washington Commanders 10 points better than anybody? I mean, I'm not sure they'd be 10 points better than Georgia.
Oh, Michael, that's bad. But it is. It's a brutal situation for the New York Giants right now, and it's funny.
I mean, it's true. It's true. You think they're 10 points better than Georgia?
I would pay so much money to see that game on the football field. But, Michael, I'm looking at the numbers from that earlier season matchup with the Giants and Commanders. Not only was it Tyrod Taylor, he was on the field, and Darren Waller was the top pass catcher that game. So 2 guys unavailable for the New York Giants the rest of the way here.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.